All right, guys, Bible in the Year podcast, episode 7. And today is day 7. Episode 7, day 6. So we're just going to go straight to it. The daily mass was powerful today. The Sunday homily was powerful because it's the 7th day. The 7th day we rest. God rested. He worked on 6 days to create the earth. And then on the 7th day, he rested. Full day of rest. That's why we go to church on Sunday. It's the Sabbath. And so, it was powerful. Father Gabe was powerful today at the Blessed Sacrament. So powerful, you guys. He was talking about love thy neighbor as thy enemy. Love your enemy as your neighbor, as yourself, as your friend, as your ally. And so have full self-love. And it related to this Genesis because they were also reading Genesis today. And I was like, oh my goodness, like that's what we read yesterday, you guys. And I didn't even know what the Bible readings and the gospel reading was going to be today, but it just aligned. So that's how you know miracles are real, because they just happened on this, podcast just yesterday. Like God foreshadowed, like we weren't even going to talk about, like I didn't talk about previously that much, love thy neighbor as thy, the second commandment, love thy neighbor as thyself, love thyself as thy neighbor, have full self-love for you, your neighbor, your enemy, your friends, all that. And so that was Father Gabe was powerful today. He was just saying that in the homily. It was in the gospel, and then he even said that in his homily. And then I said that yesterday before I just went in there blind. I didn't even know it was going to be that today. That was the homily. So, and the gospel reading and the daily readings, it was all linked to that. But we're going to continue on with this here, you guys. We're on chapter 20, Abraham at Gerar. Okay. Or Abraham at Gerar. So Abraham journeyed on to the region of Negeb, where he settled between Kadesh and Shur. While he stayed at Gerar, he said of his wife Sarah, "She is my sister." So Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. But God came to Abimelech in a dream one night and said to him, "You are about to die because of the woman you have taken, for she has a husband." Abimelech, who had not approached her, said, "O Lord, would you slay a man even though he is innocent? He himself told me, 'She is my sister,' and she herself also stated, 'He is my brother.' And she herself also stated that he's my brother. I did it in good faith and with clean hands." God answered him in the dream, "Yes, I know you did it in good faith. In fact, it was I who kept you from sinning against me. That is why I did not let you touch her. Therefore, return the man's wife as a spokesman. He will intercede for you that your life may be saved. If you do not return to her, you can be sure that you and all who are yours will certainly die." Early the next morning, Abimelech called all the court officials and informed them of everything that had happened. And the men were horrified. Then Abimelech summoned Abraham and said to him, "How could you do this to us? What wrong did I do to you that you should have brought such monstrous guilt? Monstrous guilt on me and my kingdom. You have treated me in an intolerable way. What were you afraid of?" He asked him, "That you should have done such a thing." "I was afraid," answered Abraham, "because I thought there would surely be no fear of God in this place, and so they would kill me on the account of my wife. Besides, she is in truth my sister, but only my father's daughter, not my mother's, and so she became my wife. When God sent me wandering from my father's house, I asked her, 'Would you do me this favor? In whatever place we come to, say that I am your brother.' Then Abimelech took flocks and herds and male and female slaves and gave them to Abraham. And after he restored his wife Sarah to him, he said here, 'My land lays at your disposal. Settle wherever you please.' To Sarah he said, 'See, I have given your brother 1,000 shekels of silver. Your brother 1,000 shekels of silver. Let that serve you as a vindication before all who are with you. Your honor has been preserved with everyone.' Abraham then interceded with God, and God restored health to Abimelech, that is, to his wife and his maidservants, so that they could bear children. For God had tightly closed every womb in Abimelech's household on account of Abraham's wife Sarah. Okay. Chapter 21, birth of Isaac. The Lord took note of Sarah as he had, and he did for her as he had promised. The Lord took note of Sarah as he had said he would. He did for her as he had promised. Sarah became pregnant and bore Abraham a son in his old age. At the set time that God had stated, Abraham gave the name Isaac, the son of his whom Sarah bore him. When his son Isaac was 80 days old, Abraham circumcised him as God had commanded. As God commanded. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him. Sarah then said, God has given me cause to laugh, and all who hear of it will laugh with me. Who would have told Abraham, she added, that Sarah would nurse children? Yet I have borne him a son in this old age. Isaac grew, and on the day of the child's weaning, Abraham held a great feast. Sarah noticed the son whom Hagar, the Egyptian, had borne to Abraham playing with her son Isaac. So she demanded of Abraham, drive out that slave and her son. No one of that slave is going to share the inheritance with my son Isaac. Abraham was greatly distressed, especially on the account of his son Ishmael. But God said to Abraham, do not be distressed about the boy or about your slave woman. Heed the deeds of Sarah, no matter what she is asking for of you, for it is through Isaac that descendants shall bear your name. As for your son of the slave woman, I will make a great nation of him also, since he too is your offspring. Early the next morning, Abraham got some bread and a skin of water and gave them to Hagar. Then, placing the child on her back, he sent her away. As she roamed aimlessly in the wilderness of Beersheba, the water in the skin was used up. So she had put the child down under a shrub and then went and sat down opposite of him, about a bowshot away, for she said to herself, let me not watch to see the child die. And she sat opposite him. He began to cry, and God heard the boy's cry. God's messenger called to Hagar from heaven. What is the matter with Hagar? Don't be afraid. God heard the boy's cry in his plight of his. Arise, lift up the boy and hold him by the hand, for I will make of him a great nation. Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. She went and filled the skin with water, and then let the boy drink. God was with the boy as he grew up. He lived in the wilderness and became an expert bowman. With his home in the wilderness of Paran, his mother got a wife for him from the land of Egypt, the pact at Beersheba. About that time, Abimelech, accompanied by Phicol, the commander of his army, said to Abraham, God is with you in everything you do. Therefore swear to me by God at this place that you will not deal falsely with me or with my progeny and posterity, but will act as loyally toward me and the land in which you stay as I have acted toward you. To this Abraham replied, I so swear. Abraham, however, reproached Abimelech about a well that Abimelech's men had seized by force. I have no idea who did that, Abimelech replied. In fact, you never told me about it, nor did I ever hear of it until now. Then Abraham took sheep and cattle and gave them to Abimelech, and the two made a pact. Abraham also set apart 7 ewe lambs of the flock, and Abimelech asked him, what is the purpose of these 7 ewe lambs that you have set apart? Abraham answered, the 7 ewe lambs you shall accept from me, that thus I may have your acknowledgement that the well was dug by me. This is why the place is called Beersheba. The two of them took an oath there When they had thus made the pact at Beersheba, Abimelech, along with Phicol and the commander of his army, left and returned to the land of the Philistines. Abraham planted a tamarisk at Beersheba, and there he invoked by name the Lord God the Eternal. Abraham resided in the land of the Philistines for many years. Chapter 22, the testing of Abraham. Sometime after these events, God put Abraham to the test. He called to him, "Abraham, ready?" He replied. Then God said, "Take your son Isaac, your only one whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah. There you should offer him up as a holocaust on a height that I will point out to you." Early the next morning, Abraham saddled his donkey, took with him his son Isaac and two of his servants as well, and with the wood that he had cut up for the holocaust, set out for the place of which God had told him. On the third day, Abraham got sight of the place from afar. Then he said to his servants, Both of you stay here with the donkey, while the boy and I go on over yonder. We will worship and then come back to you." Thereupon Abraham took the wood for the holocaust and laid it on his son Isaac's shoulders, while he himself carried the fire and the knife. As the two walked on together, Isaac spoke to his father Abraham. "Father," he said. "Yes, son," he replied. Isaac continued, "Here are the fire and the wood, but where is the sheep for the holocaust?" "Son," Abraham answered, "God himself will provide the sheep for the holocaust." Then the two continued going forward. When they came to the place of which God had told him, Abraham built an altar there and arranged the wood on it. Next he tied up his son Isaac and put him on top of the wood on the altar. Then he reached out and took his knife to slaughter his son. But the Lord's messenger called to him from heaven, "Abraham, Abraham." "Yes, Lord." He answered. "Do not lay your hand on the boy," said the messenger. Do not do the least thing to him. I know now how devoted you are to God, since you did not withhold from me your own beloved son." As Abraham looked about, he spied a ram caught by its horns in the thicket. So he went and took the ram and offered it up as a holocaust in place of his son. Abraham named the site Yahweh Yireh. Hence people now say, "On the mountain the Lord will see." Again the Lord's messenger called to Abraham from heaven and said, "I swear by myself, declares the Lord, that because you acted as you did in not withholding from me your beloved son, I will bless you abundantly and make your descendants as countless as the stars of the sky and the sands of the seashore. Your descendants shall take possession of the gates of their enemies, and in your descendants all the nations of the earth shall find blessing. All this because you obeyed my command." Abraham then returned to his servants, and they set out together for Beersheba, where Abraham made his home. Nahor's descendants. Sometime afterward, the news came to Abraham, "Milcah too has borne sons to your brother Nahor. Uz the firstborn, his brother Buz Kemuel, the father of Aram, Chest Hezo, Pildash, Jidlaph, and Bethuel. Bethuel became the father of Rebekah, and these eight Milcah bore to Abraham's brother Nahor. His concubine, whose name was Reumah, also bore children, Teba, Gehem, Tahash, and Makkah. Chapter 23, purchase of a burial place. This is in Genesis. We're still in Genesis. Almost through it, you guys. The span of Sarah's life. 127 years. She died in Araba, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Abraham performed for customary mourning rites for her. Then he left the site of his dead one and addressed the Hittites, "Although I am a resident alien among you, sell me from your holdings a piece of property for a burial ground, that I may bury my dead wife." The Hittites answered Abraham, "Please, sir, listen to us. You are an elect of God among us. Bury your dead in the choicest of your burial sites. None of us would deny you his burial ground for the burial of your dead." Abraham, however, began to bow low before the local citizens, the Hittites, while he appealed to them, "If you will allow me room for burial of my dead, listen to me. Intercede for me with Ephron, son of Zor, asking him to sell me the cave of Machpelah that he owns. It is at the edge of this field. Let him sell it to me in your presence at its full price for a burial place." Now Ephron was present with the Hittites. So Ephron the Hittite replied to Abraham in the hearing of the Hittites who sat on his town council, "Please, sir, listen to me. I give you both the field and the cave in it. In the presence of my kinsmen, I make this gift. Bury your dead." But Abraham, after bowing low before the local citizens, addressed Ephron in the hearing of these men. "Ah, if only you would please listen to me. I will pay you the price of the field. Accept it from me, that I may bury my dead there." Ephron replied to Abraham, "Please, sir, listen to me. A piece of land worth 400 shekels of silver, what is that between you and me? As long as you can bury your dead." Abraham accepted Ephron's terms. He weighed out to him the silver and that Ephron had stipulated in the hearing of the Hittites, 400 shekels of silver at the current market value. Thus Ephron's field in Machpelah, facing Mamre, together with its cave and all the trees anywhere within its limits, was conveyed to Abraham by purchase in the presence of all the Hittites who sat on Ephraim's town council. After this transaction, Abraham buried his wife Sarah in the cave of the field of Machpelah, facing Mamre, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. Thus the field with its cave was transferred from the Hittites to Abraham as a burial place. Chapter 24, Isaac and Rebekah. Abraham had now reached a ripe old age, and the Lord had blessed him in every way. Abraham said to the senior servant of his household, who had charge of all his possessions, "Put your hand under my thigh, and I will make you swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of earth, that you will not procure a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I live, but that you..." Okay, we're going to continue on in the middle of this chapter 24 tomorrow, you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace. Peace, love, and happiness.